The reason I will always respect Vasyl Lomachenko is because he has been willing to challenge himself since the beginning of his career. Loma could have taken the hype he had from the amateurs and rolled with it to this day without fighting anyone of note. And it would be okay because it would barely be his 9th professional fight. Take Zhu Shiming for example, another 2-time Olympic gold medalist from China. This man has fought most of his fights in his home country and hasn't fought anyone of Salido's caliber. The very first time he challenged himself was against Amnat Ruen Roeng, who had a 6-1 record, a fight which he lost. Now, he hasn't exactly been calling out fighters like Chocolatito because he knows he can just ride the gravy train and make some money. And that's what he's done since. Since losing for the first time, Shiming has fought 3 times and won the WBO title, but hasn't fought anyone with over 10 fights. There's a drastic contrast between a guy like Shiming and Lomachenko. Loma wanted to fight for a world title in his very first professional fight. However, Bob Arum said that's not how things are done in the pros. Then he said if he performed well in his first fight, he would give him a title shot in his second. So he fought Jose Luis Ramirez. Not that Jose Luis Ramirez. Jose Luis Ramirez was 25-3, and he fought him for $100,000 on the Marquez Bradley undercard. This is my whole point. He made $100,000 for fighting a guy like Ramirez, who wasn't a bum, but he wasn't exactly a top 10 fighter either. Loma could have spent years fighting guys like these until he retired and made some good money in the process. He finished off Ramirez in the 4th round with a brutal body shot. His speed and footwork was extremely impressive then, but he was nowhere near as good as he is today. The question was, how good was he, and when was he going to fight for a world title? He wanted to make history, and 5 months later, he got the opportunity to do so against, of course, Orlando Salido City on the Chavez Vera 2 undercard. Saensak Muangsurin of Thailand won his first world title in 1975 in his 3rd professional fight. That's history. 3 fights is the fastest it has ever taken anyone to become a world champion, and Loma was hoping to break this record. This is a fight many hold against Lomachenko. A lot of people say that because he lost to Salido, he is not an elite fighter. But this fight is exactly the reason why I respect him. As I mentioned before, he didn't have to take this fight, but he was chasing history. Not only that, but he was in a fight against a seasoned veteran with 54 fights under his belt who had been fighting for 18 years already. Salido also came in 2.5 pounds overweight in the weigh-in and was heavier than Lomachenko by 11 pounds come fight night. He was fighting a full-fledged welterweight. Put any other fighter in their 2nd professional fight against a guy like Salido in a position like this, and they would have folded without a doubt. Loma deserves huge respect for just taking this fight, but even more for the way he performed. Salido came to win. He had a game plan, and that game plan was to bum rush his way inside and bang Lomachenko's body all night long. And as an 18-year veteran, Salido knew all the tricks in the book. So when Loma constantly tied up because he didn't know what to do about those body shots, Salido kept hitting him. Hitting Loma on the inside, hitting him in the hip, below the belt, taking advantage of everything the referee was allowing him to get away with. This was something Loma had never really experienced before because, as Roy Jones noted several times in this fight, body shots aren't really used in the amateurs because the judges don't really care for them. Well, this was Salido's way of saying, "Welcome to the pros, Junior." This was what is called baptism by fire. For the first time ever, Lomachenko was in a real professional fight. What was he going to do? Was he going to fold because he expected the title to be handed to him? No. But a lot of fighters would have. He hung in there with Salido and almost made history. He refused to lay down. Loma connected with a mean left hook to Salido's chin in the 11th round. that forced Salido to clinch that whole round and was just surviving in the 12th. Picture that. A guy who had never passed 4 rounds in his life was now the one that looked fresher than his opponent, who had over 50 fights under his belt and almost knocked him out. Lomachenko became a better fighter within the same fight. He adapted to Salido and almost stopped his opponent. And you could see that it was Lomachenko who looked better after the fight, not the guy that eventually got the decision. Before this fight happened, I was one of the people that picked Salido to win. Not because I was a huge fan yet, because to be honest, I didn't become a huge fan that I am now of Salido until after the fight. I picked Salido to win because he had more experience as a pro. And even though Loma had over 300 amateur fights, that means very little in the professional fight game. And he was now in with someone that didn't care about his amateur experience and wouldn't respect him and didn't respect him. Salido had to use all the dirty tricks in the book to barely win a split decision against Lomachenko in his second pro fight. This speaks volumes about Lomachenko's ability. This loss to Salido enhances his legacy because he dared to be great. And we learned more about him in this defeat than we could ever have learned in a victory. We learned how resilient he is, how tough he is, how gritty he is. We also learned in the post-fight interview that he was a guy that refused to make excuses. He was a guy that wouldn't make excuses for his defeat. He said that he didn't like all the dirty stuff that Salido was doing, but he didn't want to be dirty back. He didn't want to give Salido a low blow back or a headbutt back or an elbow to Salido. Because how do you stop someone from throwing low blows if the ref isn't doing anything? Hit him with your own low blow. But Lomachenko refused to do that. And that's cute and all, that's morally right, but it didn't win him the fight. But he made no excuses. He said the right man won if that's what the judges thought. And that's good to see in a fighter that comes up short, especially one that came up short for making history like he did. He eventually tied the Thai fighter's record by beating Gary Russell in his third professional fight. And now looks like he's going to be, or that he could be, one of the all-time greats. I know I'm getting ahead of myself, but he has special talent. He has special ability. He now looks like he could be a fighter that's going to make history, that's going to be in the record books. He already is because he tied the record, but he looks like a once-in-a-lifetime talent. But I don't think any of that would have happened if Salido hadn't schooled him about how things are done in the pros. And that's why I will always respect Vasyl Lomachenko. Thanks everybody for watching. Have a great day.